The Word is eternal. Look at what Jesus said. It will not be taken from her. That's what he was saying. Why do you think Jesus said that? He was saying, listen, this food that you're eating, that you're preparing, it happens to us at our house every year in Thanksgiving. My family spends days preparing for Thanksgiving. And then you sit down and eat it, how fast is it gone? 20 minutes, boom, it's gone. And then we have leftovers. But you understand what I'm trying to say, right? It's like you're working over here for 3 days to eat something that's going to take you 20 minutes to eat. That will be taken away from you. But not spending time with Jesus, that's not going to be taken away from you. Now, reading this, you might be tempted to think, oh, I know what it is. Jesus then is a God of disorder, right? Because he didn't care if Martha's food got burned. He didn't care if it didn't get salt. He didn't care if it didn't taste good. That's what sounds like what Jesus is saying. No. Remember, the Bible teaches us God is not a God of disorder. God is a God of order. But Jesus is saying what he's saying because he knew what was in Martha's heart. When Martha came to him and complained to him about his sister, Jesus knew what was in her heart. That's why Jesus responded in the way that he responded to Martha, because that's what she needed to hear in that moment. There was something that Martha forgot that Mary remembered in that moment. What was it that Martha remembered that Mary remembered that Martha forgot? What Martha forgot is that she was not the host of that dinner. Mary realized that it was Jesus who was the host. Jesus was the one who was the host, and they were the ones that were the invited guest. Jesus is always the host. Any situation you face in your life, that's not outside of God's control. Jesus is always the host. And he's inviting us to be a guest of that situation. That should give us hope because he's in control. He's the host, we're the guest. And it's when I spend time, listen, it's when I spend time with the eternal Savior. When I spend time listening to Jesus. When I spend time learning from Jesus. Then guess what happens? Then after I spend time with the eternal, now I'm ready to engage the temporal. Remember the illustration from the beginning of the sermon? You bring the food, and I'll bring the perspective. When we spend time with Jesus, he's giving us an eternal perspective to our temporal responsibilities. He's giving us an eternal perspective to our temporal problems. These things that we're so worried about and these things that are so distracting us from spending time with Christ, in 100 years from now, what are those things going to matter? Honestly, you tell me, in 100 years from now, what will it really matter? That's why we need to spend time with the eternal, because the eternal gives us the proper perspective for the temporal.